Camp counselors of Reddit. What is the most NSFW thing you've seen happen at camp? Edit. Till there are a lot of horny preteens at camp. Day 1 at camp. We jumped out of the bus and ran around because we were so excited. My friend ran behind the bus and the bus ran him over. He was rushed off by ambulance. We didn't see him for another 3 months. Edit spelling. I sound like a 12-yo in those few sentences. I'm 42. I was a counselor at a day camp. We took kids to the zoo. A kid shoved his thumb fully inside a petting zoo goat's butt. I asked him why, and he just shrugged, looking at me like I'm the idiot. I felt bad for the goat, but it was still standing next to him, so maybe Ed was into it. Male goats actually have the second largest prostate of all mammals. I wouldn't be surprised if it was totally into it. Edit. Holy f***. Gold? Seriously? I totally made this up when I was wine drunk last night. Doesn't it sound like it could be kinda true though? Why do you know that? You didn't? I had 2 twin brothers that were very handsy with each other. One day one of them came to me crying because his brother had bit his tongue after he tried kissing him. Andy and Ali. Back to you, Andy. Back to you, Ali. This summer I walked in on 5 15 to 16-year-olds touching bowel sacs together while comparing testicle size. That was a fun incident report to fill out. Edit. For the record, the incident report doesn't get them in trouble. It's more of a thing to protect me and the other counselors if a kid were to tell their parents. Hopefully they said no homo, otherwise it would be pretty gay. Well, it isn't gay unless the balls touch. But in this case. I was working at a young life camp in Colorado probably 12 years ago. I think it was the first day right around dinner time, and a girl just up and died. Her heart just stopped. She was sitting talking with her friends and fell over. It was incredibly intense and very sad for a lot of people, and tons of people were there to witness it. It's not the most scandalous of camp stories, but it was certainly pretty f***ed up and put a weird vibe on the rest of the week. Crooked Creek Ranch? If so, I was there. Reddit is a weird place that you can post a story from more than a decade ago about a relatively small event and someone could be there. There are a few other people that have mentioned hearing about it or being there. Yes, it was Crooked Creek. I was with a group from the Houston area that week. Whoa. I was a camp counselor years ago, and while I don't recall really seeing anything NSFW with the kids, I can tell you almost everything I saw with the counselors was NSFW. I couldn't walk into a room without seeing people f***ing. Intense. On top of the staff washing machines. In the general store. Parents, if you send your kids to camp, just remember. Literally the only thing those counselors are thinking about is f***ing each other. The more I read this thread, the more sympathy I start to feel for Jason Voorhees. I worked at a sleepaway Girl Scout camp with all female counselors and staff where a solid 60% were lesbian. There was a strictly enforced no more f***ing in the bushes rule, because so many counselors would go at it anywhere they could find. What are they supposed to do? F*** out in the open? Shave. Counselors having a threesome in an empty cabin next to the bathrooms. Till camp counselors are horny as f***. Edit. Yeah, you'll need to chill the f*** out. 1. I'm not from America. Camps where I'm from don't work that way. 2. It's been a long ass time since I've seen Friday 13th. Like a luwing moth f***ing time. 3. I f***ing wish I had been a camp counselor in America. Former camp counselor here. It's pretty much the only way to stay sane. We called it camp goggles, akin to beer goggles in that everyone around you is insanely. You leave camp, then you're done. Meanwhile, you got laid. Lots. Welp. Now I have a response for that. What do you regret not doing in high school? Thread. Had 6-year-old campers at a day camp. After swimming, found 2 of them facing each other naked in the locker room. They were standing there, hitting each other's erect penises, and making the boing boing sounds. They might be a member of the D Club, proving to themselves and everyone that they are not gay. This actually happened earlier today. I work at a summer day camp at a local park with kids in kindergarten age group. Interesting / gross things happen almost every day with kids at that age. But today's events took the cake. Basically, this 6-year-old boy found a dead bird in the grass and decided it would be fun to pick it up and smear the blood and guts all over his hands and arms. After doing that, he started chasing around other campers to try to share his bird entrails on them. I had the pleasure of catching the gore-covered kid, ripping the bird's ravaged carcass out of his hands, and spending half an hour in the bathroom getting him and myself cleaned up. When I asked him why the heck he picked up a dead animal, he said that he thought it was something awesome to do. Edit. Thanks for the gold, kind stranger. Just goes to show that comments about 6-year-olds savaging animals are totally the way to go. Metal as peep. There were these two kids, which we nicknamed Poo Poo Picasso and Gandhi. Both were in my friend's cabin, which was year 2 campers. So the kids were just out of 3rd grade. So I guess they were around 8 or 9 years old. Anyway, Poo Poo Picasso would smear his speep. He'd defecate inside of his trunk and left it there for a day before my friend noticed the smell. He wrote on the walls of the bathrooms with his own feces. It was disgusting. Now Gandhi didn't want to be at summer camp, despite it being a total blast. He would bitch and complain and ask to call home, which he wasn't allowed to do unless it was a rather serious situation. Fine, we deal with this sometimes. But what we weren't expecting was for him to go on a hunger strike. That's right, a hunger strike. He just would refuse to eat for several meals. He would break and eat a ton of snacks during our afternoon refreshment period when he thought we wouldn't notice. What made Gandhi really special is that he learned how to vomit on command. To do so, he would drink insane amounts of water. Then when we would ask him to do something he didn't want to do, he would just vomit everywhere. It was nasty, but at the same time typing this out is making me giggle. Eventually the two kids got over it, I think. What is with these kids smearing their speep? In high school I was a counselor at a community outdoor camp where a lot of the kids who attended were there just because their parents needed to put them somewhere. These kids were typically 8 to 12 years old. We would have to take the kids on hikes around the property where we'd see a bunch of uninteresting animals, hang out by a pond or creek, then head back to the main center where some animal expert would bring in a snake or owl to give the children some excitement each day. One week we got these two little dudes who hated everything about the camp from the start, but they hated each other more than Samuel Jackson hates snakes on a plane. They were constantly finding creative ways to piss each other off throughout the week. On the last day of camp we had just finished a hike and stopped by a creek where everyone could rest and look for frogs or throw mud into the woods. Behind me I hear one of the two call the other a bitch, after which I slowly turned around to see what the other one would do. The accused bitch had picked up a half cinder block size rock and was bringing over his head so he could smash the back of the accuser's head in with it. Fortunately I was close enough to where I could grab the rock before it came down on the other kid's unsuspecting head. TL. Doctor stopped a 12-year-old from smashing another 12-year-old's head in with a rock the size of a 12-year-old's head. Very similar to a story I have. But it was girls, a broken Coke bottle, and the other one wasn't as fortunate. I quit all of 3 hours after that. Peep, this thread is dark. I worked as a counselor at a camp for adults with disabilities. All my campers were in their 20s-late 30s. One night one of my campers was masturbating loudly and furiously. Because we all slept in one giant room, her noises were waking everyone up. It was so distracting that I had to give her the masturbation chat the next day and also explain it to all my campers privately. Boy, what a fun day that was. I had a masturbating camper once too. It was making his bunk bed bump against the wall repeatedly. I figured there wasn't much I could do to stop him, so I pulled his bed away from the wall to stop the noise and had a good night's sleep. Andre is not a happy camper. Best one. Pick me the peep up LMAO. camper who spoke no English got a nasty head wound from a nail on the cabin rafters that he fast dived into. Also so much counselor sex. I winced in pain just reading that. Why? The sex wasn't that awful. Myself and the other counselors in training stayed over in the food meeting hall place one night with one of the counselors. Truth or dare started happening. Someone truth this French exchange student chick, what's the farthest you've ever gone with someone? In broken English, she said something along the lines of, one time my cousin and I were together and he put his balls on me, motion to her crotch, and we went like this humping motion. Silence. Lots of worried looks exchanged. Next person's turn. After reading about all the camp counselors having sex with each other, I've decided I'm gonna be a camp counselor. I'm a ex-camp counselor. Tons of sex. But not enough for the stress that you get from those little speeps 24/7. Being a camp counselor prepares you for family life. You bang someone at night and have to deal with the kids in the morning. Who would have thought? Walking in on two 15-year-old girls having the worst smelling lesbian sex. It stunk up the whole dorm all night. We had to open all the windows. Everyone knew. Saw a girl give a guy a hand job under a towel. On the bus. On the bus filled with children. On the bus filled with children going to a Christian camp. He is risen. Praise the Lord. This is my body. Eat of it. I was a camp counselor a few years ago at a camp for foster kids. One week a counselor caught a camper M15 in bed with another camper F14. The room they were in was tiny, and the 4 other girls in the bunks were awake and cheering them on. They were loud enough to wake the counselor, who pulled the male camper out of bed. The guy had a Ziploc bag around his dick, held in place by a rubber band. I was both impressed at their dedication to trying to have safe sex, and appalled at how terribly they went about it. Round here we call sex with a sandwich backpacking a lunch. Trade you this dick for your gushers. What's the difference? Gushers last longer. Saw a 13-year-old peeping a 12-year-old. And the position they were. Did they learn that? Edit. And the position was the butter churner. Considering this is the position I believe is most likely to cause pregnancy and all due to gravity, I have no idea how or why this was the position they chose or how they knew about it. Researching old Indian textbooks. I've got this book called The Kamasutra. Michael Scott. Finally something I can actually weigh in on. I work at a day camp for kids ages 4 to 13. I was with a group of about 10 kids, all 8 or 9 years old. One day before pool time one kid walked into the bathroom, got buck-ass naked, then started crying because he had lost his bathing suit. I went in trying to defuse the situation and he bolted. He ran around at top speed screaming and crying, flailing his arms all over the place. Do you know how illegal it looks for a 16-year-old boy to chase a nude 8-year-old? Well, I eventually caught the kid and brought him back to the bathroom. When I asked him what his bathing suit looked like, he pulled a bathing suit out and said it looks like this. OHHH. Moth Peeper had his bathing suit 6 feet from him the entire time. NSFW in that I should have never been told at work. I'm a camp director, and we had a kiddo who was at camp for the first time, roughly 10 years old. Mom gave us a heads up that dad's health was failing, and she wanted her son to have a break and recoup, but we also might have some behavioral issues. Great, no problem. We'll take great care of him. She calls Wednesday to tell me dad died the night before. I extend my condolences and state that I'll quietly get her son packed, but not say anything to him. She says, no, I'm going to leave him there for now. I want him to have 2 more days of joy before I break his little heart. It was the longest 2 days of my life, knowing this kid's world was going to shatter Friday afternoon. I had to tell a few other staff so that we could be absolutely sure he had the best 2 days. It just sucked so bad for the adults, obviously sucked worse for the child, but you know what I mean. We heard rumors about the cabin next to us one week at camp. It was a game called Monkey, and it involved one of the kids getting naked and putting a sock over his dick. He'd then swing around the room using the bed frames and whatnot, making monkey noises. To this day I'm not sure what the game was. I'm guessing you won if you didn't get raped. Dear Mom and Dad. Camp is so fun. We've invented this game called Monkey. Hello Mudda. Hello Fadda. Marge. Is Lisa at Camp Granada? Was checking rooms after everyone was supposed to have moved out. Found a 12-year-old peeping another 12-year-old male incoming just as I opened the door. They didn't hear me, so I waited a few minutes, then knocked on the door and opened it to find two innocent kids packing their bags. They apologized for being slow to get out of their room. Two 12-year-old boys. Actual penetration? Holy speep.